everybody, and welcome once again to an edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. And Sam and I are happy to welcome an old friend that we meet every so often at the Spartan Bowl. Welcome, Kerry Brown, CHS head coach, basketball team.
Thank you. Good to be here with you guys
again. We're always glad to have you.
Yes.
And I've missed you, man, the last couple of weeks.
I wish we would have still been seeing each other, because that would have meant we were still playing.
That's right.
What do basketball coaches do when the season's over?
You know, haven't had a whole lot of time off yet. We've done inventory. We've had player exit interviews at the end of the season. We've got a banquet coming up this Wednesday. We've got another banquet coming up next Tuesday. You know, there hasn't been a whole lot of nights off this weekend. Went to the regional. Went out to dinner with my wife Friday night, which, you know, doesn't happen in November and December and January and February. So we'll give the kids a little more time off, and then after spring break we'll come back in and get back at it with the kids that are not in the spring sport. And, you know, we'll kind of evaluate and see what we need to do as coaches and with our program. As you know, we're thinking about next year.
Sure.
But we're just wrapping up, you know, the season that we had.
So we keep him busy.
Yeah.
And are you helping Brent with the schedule for next year?
You know, I think it's pretty much solidified. We already have made that change. Centerville's going to go off and Lawrence North is going to come on. But I think all the other games are going to stay the same. I did get an invitation today to go participate in a shootout, but I don't know that we have any openings for that. And I think it's close enough to the wedding tournament that it would be too much in too short a time span. It's a shootout up in Indianapolis. It'd be great to go do it. I'm sure we'd play a good opponent, but I just don't think we can squeeze it in. I'll look at it and I'll talk with Brent about it tomorrow, but just off the top of my head, I don't think it'll work.
What is the shootout? Is it a tourney or what?
Well, we would play one game. It was an invitation to go play at one that's been going for 3 or 4 years now. They have teams in from the Midwest, Michigan and Illinois and Ohio, and then top Indiana teams. And I guess I can say this, it was Indianapolis Manual who we've played the last 2 years and played really well against, so maybe they, you know, have seen that we've competed really well, and they have invited us, but I don't think it'll work. So, but, you know, there would be a chance we could play someone from Ohio or Illinois or Michigan, which would be neat, or a top-ranked team in the state.
Sure.
But you only get one game. But there's like 8 games. They start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the last game's at 8 or 9 that night. And it's just, you know, game after game after game. I've been up and scouted it before and watched it from that standpoint. But
I don't think they probably want the Spartan crowd.
Well, that would be another thing that would also be a good draw for us is how our fans support us.
We played in something similar at Newcastle a couple of years ago with Louisville Ballard.
Yeah.
Similar situation.
Yeah, that was the Indiana-Kentucky Challenge Cup, and it was 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A representatives from our state against the same counterparts from Kentucky. So it would be similar to something like that, except it's like 8 games in one day instead of 4. Well, and there were, I guess, with the boys and the girls, there were 8 games in that as well. So, yeah, very similar.
Talk about the season that just concluded here. Too soon, but concluded.
You know, we had a really good season, 21 and 5, I think is what we ended up.
Yes.
Won 80% of their games. You know, I didn't know that we would be that good this year. I knew I was going to have a team back that I was going to like, and I thought we were going to work hard, and we were going to be unselfish and all those good things. But it was just one of those years. I never dreamed that we were going to win 21 games again.
Yes.
We had a great group of kids. You know, we had 7 seniors this year, 8 if you count our manager. You know, 1 junior played a little bit, and then we had 3 sophomores. And then at the end of the year, we sprinkled in even a freshman getting some playing time. And we won our 4th conference championship in a row. This group has gone 85 and 24, something like that, in their 4 years of varsity basketball. 3 20-plus win seasons in a row. So there's a lot of really good things. that this group accomplished, and I'll probably forget someone, but, just our seniors, Garrett Silcott and Braxton Reveley, Dalton Lee were our captains, and Wes Smith was a senior that started this year.
Right.
Drew Shirt came off the bench for us and probably had his best season of high school basketball this year. Dalton Ailes and Tyler Combs, and I think I've got all 7 of the seniors if my memory doesn't fail me. And then our senior student assistant, our manager, Cade Kelly, has been with us and done a great job as well. So, that's why we ended on a sour note. The players probably feel that way. I know the coaches feel that way. We thought, this was another opportunity for us to win another sectional and play into the regional again, and that didn't happen. We won our first game in the sectional, and you're not guaranteed any bonus basketball, but that first game. And we got one bonus game in the postseason, and then we got eliminated by a Mount Vernon team, somebody that was very familiar with us, somebody we were very familiar with. Didn't think we played extremely well, and where we had made some plays in the past to win those games, we just didn't. We just didn't make those plays. And, hats off to Mount Vernon. They had a fine team. We had to beat them in overtime the last 3 times we played them, so we know that they were good and talented, and it was their turn this time. And so that kind of hurt, but, we can't let one game define our season. And I really believe that, there's only one team that's going to win, well, actually 4, 1 in each class, that's going to win their last game. And if you, gauge your season by your last game, then there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. So just overall, it was a really, really good year for our kids, our seniors, and hopefully our underclassmen did a good job of listening and paying attention, and we can continue next year and in the future.
You yourself, and I want to congratulate you, and maybe some people hadn't realized this, but you passed Basil Malby on the all-time win list at Connersville. You're in second place behind longtime coach Mose Pruitt. You're in between 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and I know that you've had some good teams to help you get to that mark. But congratulations to you, and I think that's a tremendous thing there.
Well, thank you, and to be in between 2 Hall of Fame coaches, obviously I don't know Mose Pruitt, but I'm very familiar with Basil Malby and the type of coach he is. So to be, in between those 2 guys, I'm very appreciative of that. But I wouldn't be there if it wasn't for our players and my assistant coaches. Our high school staff has stayed intact with the exception of one minor change really in the last, the 9 years that I've been here. We've had one minor change there, and then I've been really fortunate to have a lot of really good kids. Garrett Silcott was a 1,000-point scorer this year. Grant Smith was a 1,000-point scorer last year. And Zach Miller was a 1,000-point scorer a couple of years ago. And then, the kids that also played with them. But those are some accomplishments of the kids that have helped. What they've done helped me be successful. Helped us be successful.
You mentioned Grant. While I'm thinking about it, he's going for an NAIA national championship this week, which I think is something to be said for him and our program that helped him get there.
Well, not only Grant, we have 2 young men playing in the Final Four in Sioux City. And tonight they're playing against each other. It'd been neat if they would have been on opposite sides, so maybe they could have played for the national championship. But Grant Smith's at Indiana Wesleyan, and they're going to play Indiana University IU East tonight, and Charles Peterson plays there, who played for us a few years ago. So that's kind of neat as a coach to see those guys playing on that big stage in the Final Four, and one of them is going to be playing for the NAIA Division II National Championship on Tuesday night.
Congratulations to them both. Yes.
Yeah.
Going back to our kids, I thought the picture showed it all here on TV3 when we had the camera on the kids when they congratulated each other, congratulated Mount Vernon, and the look on the Spartan faces told it all. And I think it tells us what kind of kids they are. Well,
we have some very high character kids. I get a little bit choked up talking about them even right now, but we really do. And the best thing, and I think the thing that has allowed us to be successful, is that they do care about one another. They play for one another. They have each other's back. and they're tough kids. And, when we walk out on the floor, I think a lot of times we're not the most talented team. But I've said this before, our individual parts are not as good as our collective whole when we come together. And I really believe that, and I think the reason that we've had the success that we've had, because we haven't always been the most talented team, even though we've won a number of games the last 3 years, but I think it's that team, that camaraderie, that family that we've developed and that they've, welcomed and not, been individualistic about what we were trying to accomplish here. And I think that's contributed to the success that we've had.
Well, I mentioned to you a couple of times during the season that when one of your teams comes onto the court, it seems like you can see it in the kids' eyes that they don't hope to win, they expect to win.
Well, and I think that's a big part of it, especially when you're outmanned. The most talented team, the best team does not always win. It's the team that plays together the best that's going to come out on top. And, I've been on both sides of that coin. I thought we have had talented teams, and I think sometimes we've been beat. And usually a good telltale sign for me is, in a ball game, if our toughest kid's getting whipped, I don't think we have much of a chance of winning that basketball game. But if our toughest kid's beating their toughest kid and we're winning the loose balls, we're getting the rebounds, we're doing those little things, then we're going to have a chance to be in and win every ball game that we're in.
What do you prefer, talent or experience?
I think in some ways there's probably a similarity. The more experience you have, the more talented you become.
Okay.
But I guess experience is pretty hard to go against, at least as far as I'm concerned. I think anytime you've been there and you've done that, and I'll give you an example, like when I went and watched Mount Vernon this weekend at the regional, I felt like they probably were like us the first year we were up there against Southport. They never could get at ease.
Yes.
And it just seemed to affect their game and how they played. And talent doesn't always win. I mean, if you have talent that doesn't work hard, it's not going to always be successful. Now, sometimes it will, but I don't think it's always going to win out. So I think the experience factor is huge at times, especially when you've never been there before and you've got those nerves that you have to settle.
Sure.
And our kids have had a lot of experiences to draw upon these last couple of years.
You got some good kids coming up. We've had really some successful teams. JV team, look what they did. Freshman team and the boys teams, middle school.
Well, we're going to return 4 lettermen, 4 underclassmen that played a lot of varsity basketball. Noah Belt's a junior. And then we played off the bench 3 sophomores, Clay Garrison, Jacob Brown, and Garrett Wicks a little bit. And then we played a freshman at the end of the year, and that would be Jonah Graham. So they all got some seasoning this year. Our JV team, Coach Bottomley's JV team, won 20 games. I think they're only the second Connersville team to win that many games. So we've got some more freshmen and sophomores down there that are going to come along and contribute. Our freshman team went 500 minus their 2 best players who were playing for the JV.
Right.
And then our 8th and our 7th grade teams, I was looking at some of that today. Our 8th grade was a combined, I want to say they lost 3 games between both teams. And then our 7th grade, I want to say it was about the same. I know the Coach Munchell's team lost 1, and Coach Reynolds' team might have lost 2 or 3 games. And then, you dip down into our elementary program. I think we've got some good things going there as well. But it seems like there's some players coming in the pipeline now. They've got to get in and work at it and develop both their bodies and their skills. And if they'll do those things, and then we'll be okay. But if they're not working at it, what was it? I forget who said it, but something about no one's ever drowned from sweat. And I forget who attributed that quote to, but that stuck with me, that no one has ever drowned from sweat. And I've passed that on to our kids, and hopefully that they'll take that to heart, and we'll have a good off season.
When the teams are selected, you're in on the picking of the boys, are you?
Yeah, I usually run our middle school tryouts so that the coaches, I can get some of the drills put in and they can observe and evaluate. I put my 2 cents worth in as much as I can, but I also trust those guys to make good decisions. and I think they do. It's always tough when you get down to the, who's going to be the 16th through the 20th man or 16th through 22nd, because there's not a whole lot at that time where they're at in their development that separates them. And then our freshman tryouts are conducted during, they come in with our sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So we're really running 2 different tryouts, or 3, depending on how you want to look at it, freshman, JV, and varsity squad at the same time. But that also gives them a chance to be in there and doing the same drills that we're doing with the varsity JV guys.
When does all this take place?
Tryouts are normally the first 2 or 3 days of practice for us. So, whatever that magical date is when we can start, we get in there and we get going right away with the tryouts. And then the middle school, it's the same way. Theirs, I think, this past season was just before fall break.
Okay, yeah.
You've got on the JV team, seems to me like some guys with some length, with Sollenbarger and Birch and Huffman. Is that that's the third one? Which
and Ethan Smith.
And Ethan Smith. Those guys in the off season can develop their bodies a little more and be ready to go. I would think they just watching them during JV games. I like their size, and you put them with Jacob Brown, then Spartans are maybe going to be a little taller than we've been in the past.
Well, they're all between 6'2" and 6'5". They're all pretty decent athletes. Again, the big thing for us with our young kids is I feel like we're always behind. We need to get them in the weight room, and they need to get stronger. Just if you go back to our game against Mount Vernon, every time we brought Jacob in, they brought in 42, and all he was in there to do was to manhandle him and be more physical than Jacob. And it wouldn't make any difference whether it was Jacob or Damon or Ethan or Sully or Saba. That kid had one goal, and that was just to be stronger than them and manhandle them. And so that's where a lot of our focus will be this off season, is their footwork and their strength. And then obviously we want to work as much as we can on their skills. But it goes back to that toughness and that physicality, and the team that has that's probably going to come out on top the majority of the times.
Here's some of the results of area teams in the regionals. We'd like to bring you up to date. Union County, they lost at Greenfield 56-42 to Indianapolis-Scecina. Seton Catholic won at Frankton in the regional semifinals 65-57, but lost at the title game to Southwood. Greensburg was eliminated by Evansville-Bosse 75-58 at the Huntingburg Regional. Newcastle won at Frankfort 49-35 over Angola. And then at night, they beat Marion 77-70 in the title game, and they'll play in the semi-state this Saturday at Lafayette Jeff, meeting Culver Academy. The Trojans 27-2, and Culver is 21-6. And a win will put the victor into the state finals March 24th against the winner of the Danville Evansville-Bosse semi-state winner at Washington. Also, the Mount Vernon Marauders, we've been talking about in the Spartan season in the sectional, eliminated by Terre Haute South 80-52 in the Southport Regional. South lost tonight to Warren Central. Warren Central looks pretty tough, Coach.
Yeah, they're a pretty good basketball team.
They've only won 30 straight ball games without a loss, I think.
Yeah, they're 30-0 now. They're going to play New Albany, that's lost one game. They had a heck of a game with Ben Davis Saturday. 2 really good, disciplined, athletic teams. That was an overtime game. And then Mount Vernon was defeated by Terre Haute South, who was an athletic, long team in the first game in the morning. And then Terre Haute South just wasn't any match for Warren Central that night.
Yes.
Very impressed watching Warren Central play. And obviously to beat Ben Davis, who was the state champion last year, that tells you a little bit about how good they are.
That's right. And there will be 4 new champions in all the classes of Hoosier High School basketball this year, as all 2017 winners were eliminated in either a sectional or a regional. In Class A, Indianapolis-Tindley lost to Morristown Saturday. In Class 2A, Frankton was defeated by LaPel in the sectional. In Class 3A, Indianapolis Attucks lost to Danville in the regional, and as the coach said, Ben Davis lost to Warren Central in the regional. So 4 brand new winners.
Yeah, kind of just an exciting time of year.
Yes.
whether you're a past champion or someone that's trying to get there for the first time, Morristown is, relatively close to us. Obviously, Newcastle is on our schedule.
Right.
Trying to figure out where I'm going to go this Saturday and watch a semi-state where I can get the best couple of games. But I think our attendance has been really good at some of the sites for the region. I know Richmond was disappointed we weren't in the championship game because of the crowd. And I know the Southport Regional, the crowd wasn't near what it was the last 2 years that we've been up there. That's a tip of the hat to our
Yes,
fans.
certainly is.
But I know Seymour was packed this past weekend with Romeo. So exciting time of year. I know there's still a lot of schools like Connorsville that have those great followings. Newcastle would be one of them that comes to mind. New Albany's fans travel well.
Yes.
So tough ticket to get at some of these places this Saturday.
Looked like a pretty good crowd at Marion. Of course, it was on their floor. They were playing Newcastle,
Yep.
former NCC foes. Have known each other well over the years, so that looked like a pretty good crowd there.
Yeah, I would anticipate a good crowd for that game, and it was. And I think Newcastle will travel well to Lafayette, and the team they're playing is the Military Academy, and a lot of those kids are from out of state or out of country.
That's right.
I don't know that they'll have a very big following or backing, but Newcastle certainly will.
Garrett Silcott was honored by the Coaches Association.
Yeah, Garrett actually has received a couple of honors here in the postseason. First of all, he was recognized by the Indiana Basketball Coaches Association as honorable mention academic All-State, and we really thought he would be a shoe-in. Just to tell you how tough the competition was, I really thought he would be a shoe-in for academic All-State, but there's some tough competition out there, so he was honorable mention academic All-State. And then we just found out today that Garrett and Noah Belt were EAIC all-conference basketball players, and Garrett was also the conference MVP, meaning he was the top vote getter by we can't vote for our own players, so this was coming from all the other coaches in the conference.
That's a real honor.
Yeah, I thought he might have a shot at it, but you never know how some people are going to vote. We play some of the teams so early in the year, and then they don't see you, they don't care about it. And then the teams that you play later probably get to see you play more and have a better feel or understanding for your players and who's the better players. And so you never know how it's going to work, but we're happy for him. We mentioned he scored over 1,000 points in his career. He's got a decision to make in the near future, what he's going to do at the next level. Obviously, selfishly as his coach, I want him to go play somewhere, and he's capable of it. But ultimately, he and his family have to make that decision, what's best for them.
Sure. After the Marauder game, when Garrett came to the Marauder coach, the coach took a few minutes and spoke to him, and I could read Garrett's lips to say thank you. So I'm sure he complimented Garrett on his play in the season, even though he was his season over.
Well, I think the respect when you've played against someone or coached against them, and I feel the same way towards some people on my schedule.
Sure.
It's like, I'm glad those guys are gone. and I'm sure that's kind of why you want to recognize them for the excellence that they've, had. You're also glad to see him move on. But he's not the only coach. The Batesville coach actually contacted me to get Garrett's, I forget if it was his home address. I think it was an address. He was going to send him a card after we played them. So I think there's a lot of respect out there, and it's mutual from coaches to players in our conference and in our sectional. When you see someone as much as we see those kids, I think it's mutual. And obviously Garrett's admired by a few of the conference coaches and sectional coaches that he's gone against.
I hope he's considered for the All-Star.
Well, I hope that happens. I don't know that that's going to happen. Top 60 comes out next week. And that'd be the first hurdle that he's got to clear. If he gets nominated to the top 60, which I think will come out next Monday or Tuesday, then he'll have a shot. And if he doesn't make the top 60 workout, which Grant worked out in last year, then I don't think there's any way he can make the All-Star team if he's not invited to that practice, that atmosphere.
Who makes that?
That is selected by Hoosier Basketball Magazine. It's not the Indiana Basketball Coaches Association. The top 60 is solely a product of Hoosier Basketball Magazine. and that was Gary Donna for
Right.
years. Obviously, he's not with us any longer, but the magazine and the people running that are still conducting the top 60, which is like a tryout and/or an opportunity for the coaches to see those players. And also, there are college coaches who attend the top 60, and it's a chance. If the kid doesn't make the All-Star team, it still gives them an opportunity to be seen and discovered by a college coach.
Right. You talked about the youngsters that will not be participating in any sports that you'll be working with. Do you have any idea who will be taking part in baseball and track and some of those sports?
You know, some of the kids that I know are involved, like Jacob Brown's in track, Wes is in track, Dylan Logan plays baseball. Now, and some could change because I think baseball tryouts just started tonight, and maybe something changed over the weekend. But I know guys like Ethan and Solly and Clay are not, to my knowledge, involved in a spring sport. So I don't have them all. We had our exit interviews, and I asked them about their spring plans, intentions. I want to know what they're doing. If they're not doing something, then obviously we'll provide opportunities. And along with that, then we ask them if they're going to be playing AAU, because if they are, then I want to follow them. I want to schedule. I want to go watch them when I can. We just try to keep tabs on them. So when we meet with the players individually at the end of the season, that's one of the things that's discussed. You know, what are you doing this spring? And sometimes it might be a job. Some of our kids told me, you know, they'll be working this spring and or this summer. And so we work out at 6 o'clock in the morning so we don't conflict with their jobs or summer school or try to stay out of the way of other teams that they may be on.
We have a camp this summer.
Yeah, we will. I don't have the dates. I'm working on that now. We'll have our middle school camp. Usually I try to do that the last 2 weeks of the school year for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Next year's 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, we bring them all in together. And then we'll run 2 separate camps for the elementary, the upper and the lower elementary kids. And that'll be the first week in June. I just, as long as I get permission from the facility directors and the administration that those dates and times are okay, then we'll run with it and get information out to the parents and the players.
And you'll have a summer program where you play games?
Yeah, I started working on that already. I inked a couple of days for our 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. Got 2 dates already for them. I've got 1 date for our high school guys for sure. And then I've got a number of invitations that I need to get back on. And what we try to do is our JV plays in a Wednesday night league. Our varsity usually goes and plays on Saturdays. We work out Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So we try not to have anybody doing anything more than 4 days a week. And then that gives them 3 days off. Obviously, you know, what time commitments, 2.5 to 3 hours a day if it's practice and weights. And they don't have to lift with us. They can go lift with their other team. But we want them to be lifting, whether it's with us or one of the other programs they may be affiliated with.
You keep the kids busy year-round.
We do. You know, like I told you guys before, I don't know if it's Lou Holtz, but someone said, you know, I've never met anyone that drowned from sweat. So it's important. We have to be about player development, and that's their bodies and their skills. If not, you know, we just don't have the talent walking up and down the hallways and the streets of Connersville, maybe like the good old days. So we try to be about developing the kids that we have, and I think we've done a pretty good job with it.
Coach Semin, I always enjoy talking to you during the basketball season and during the off season too.
Well, if you guys need someone to come in and fill in again,
okay.
I don't know what I can tell you new unless you give me a month or so, then I'll get the kids back in the gym. But anytime you need someone, it's good being here with you guys.
We really appreciate it, and I know the kids you coach, they leave CHS a better citizen.
I've been very fortunate. I have been very fortunate with the kids that we've had come through here in the 9 years that I've been here. So I'll be the first one to tell people that.
And it's important they keep up their grades.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about, I'm disappointed in one young man right now. I'm not going to say his name, but he's going to hear from me because I don't like the way that his GPA's trending. And when I go speak to him, if he watches this program, he'll end up knowing who it is. But yeah, I monitor those things. And, you know, I just recognized another 6 of our kids through the Hoosier Basketball Coaches Association because they carried a 3.2 or higher. And I was proud of them. And when I was checking, I found out this one young man's not where I want him at. And so we're going to have a talk.
Thanks, Coach. You're a great teacher and a coach. And thanks, everybody, for watching this edition of Spartan Sports Report.